Hello everyone. Today I'm going to cover one of the most exciting topics and very rare topics also I can say. Mostly we all know what is multi-tenant. I'm receiving feedbacks from a lot of users that you are doing videos only on Tamil, but we have non-Tamil peoples also. So when they say I decided to give recordings in English only, so that I hope mostly all the developers will know English, right? So I'll proceed with English. I hope this will reach for other non-Tamil peoples also. So I'm targeting all the developers who are trying to learn OutSystems. So I hope adding videos in English that will help for them for sure. And also I have decided to add subtitles for my older videos. So so anyone who needs that video to be in other languages, I will add subtitles in English for that videos. So that will take time. I will do it when I have free time. But in this video, we will cover what is multi-tenant. We all know multi-tenant is a application where a same code will plays different role. Let's say I have one application which is a employee management application, right? So that application code is same, all the services, all the screens and related development activities all are same, right? So this is how a product development will come into place. Let's say in product development they will develop one product that will be delivered to different clients. We have multiple examples in India. If you say Zoho is one of the leader in product development, so Zoho is a one code of application, we can say it as a product that is being delivered into multiple clients. Even most of the companies are being registered on Zoho and using it. So have you ever think of it how it is being used, right? So here here comes the multi-tenant application. So this is what the multi-tenancy, single code capable of handling multiple clients, is called a multi-tenant. So I hope you guys understand what is multi-tenant, right? Now, how to do that multi-tenancy applications in OutSystems. So when this topic came to me, right, I have searched in a lot of places in for particularly in OutSystems. We have only this link to study what is multi-tenancy and how to do and what are this, right? And we don't have much steps to have a practical experience with this multi-tenant application. And also we do have a forge component in our OutSystems forge, right? But those components also is already built, but we don't know the steps exactly, right? First from top to bottom what I need to do. And we have the solution, but we don't know how that solution is being built. So in order to fill that gap, I'm doing this as a practical multi-tenant application video. I hope this video will help you a lot on a practical session. Okay. Before starting it, I want to go through this link, right? You guys please go through this link fully, and then you can go ahead with the application development. So I will quickly go through from here, and also I will share this link with this video description, and this will be more helpful to you, right? So this is the link that OutSystems has provided for multi-tenant, and here we have the image and the documents and all. And when you have the scroll down and you have the benefits, right? So these benefits are here and you can read it out. And when I scroll down, so here you have the tenant specific elements. So in a module, let's say, so you might have some confusions about which elements we can make it as multi-tenant. Say we have a UI widgets, screens, blocks, server actions, client actions, timers, site properties, client variables. right? So entities. So these, among all these components of modules, uh, what and all we can make them as a multi-tenant, right? That is one of questions that we will have when we start thinking to build a multi-tenant application. So here they what OutSystems support for multi-tenancy, right? Here we can make a module as a multi-tenant, and entities which is there inside a module as a multi-tenant, and the site properties we can make it as a multi-tenant, and timers also. So these four elements, 4 to 5 elements, we can make it as a multi-tenant in order to build a multi-tenant application, right? So we can make them as a tenant specific elements of a module. Okay. So here we have setting up a module. So each, for these 5 items, how we need to set it as a multi-tenant. So that is the thing. In order to set a module as a multi-tenant, we need to make, there is a property called is multi-tenant that we need to make it true. I will show you how to do for all these components, module, entity, site properties, timers, right? How to do this with the practical session implementation, right? So those 4 elements are explained how it is and what we need to do, and there is an example, and the forge components also, they might have scenarios also they have added. So all these things are here in this document. You can go through it. Let's go and create our own simple practical multi-tenant application, right? I've created a multi-tenant application here for a testing. Now I will create another application for the demo, right? I will start from scratch, reactive web application. And so what application we can build, right? Basically, the concept that I have is a simple application, not too much complicated. So we are going to create a simple application with multi-tenancy enabled, right? Let's say I have a company, so I'm going to build a product. That product should accept multiple organizations. So when I register, there will be an onboarding screen, sign in screen. If I could go to here, requirement, the requirement that we are going to do in for multi-tenant, right? For multi-tenant is login, onboarding, compliance, compliance detail, add compliant by timer, by tenant specific timer, tenant specific site property usage, and entity usage. So this is what we are going to cover. So initially we will have onboarding and login, compliance detail. So company will register, right? On onboarding, a company will register. That company will have complaints into it. So that complaints, or we can have product detail. Onboarding. So when that company onboarded, we can have different products, right? And for that, we can have a product detail screen, and by using timer, then a specific timer, how to add a product, and in time tenant specific site property and entity usage. So this is what we're going to cover. Login and logout. Yeah, let's get into the practical session. Zoo, zoo. Okay, I'm going to create my own product with the multi-tenancy enabled. So I'm naming it as a Zuhu, and Zuhu description, which is a product based application. I'll go this color and let me create application. Okay, I'll create a React web application, Zuhu. And so this module is created, and here you have the module properties, right? Name, description, dbms is our user provider. So this module is not user provider, right? Our user provider is users module, OutSystems default users module, right? So if you want to have a different user provider module, basically what is a user provider module? So when you do your environment slash users in browser, that will give all users management capabilities which is built in by OutSystems, and there you can manage your users, create, update, and create groups and assign roles, create roles, all those stuffs you can manage with that users module. So that is the default user provider, right? So if you want to create or build your own user provider, you just clone your users existing users module, and in that clone you need to remove unwanted things and resolve those errors, and inside that you can rename that module, the cloned module, you can rename it. So in that case, that's a different user provider module. So instead of slash users, you can add that renamed module name as a new user provider module, right? So that will act as a new user provider module. Okay, you can ask why I need to go to a different user provider module, because sometimes we need to have that user logics or all those stuffs needs to be handled by ourselves, right? In that case, if we want to customize those stuffs, we can have a different user providers, and we will create users over there. So that will act as a new user provider. We are not going with creating new user provider, right? So we are going to use existing user provider module which is users. And yeah, and when you scroll down is multi-tenant property, right? Currently it is no, you just make it yes, so that this module will act as a multi-tenant module. So whatever modules that you are going to create for the multi-tenant application, you have to make all those modules as multi-tenant yes. Now, this user provider is important. For this module, user provider is users. With this only, we are going to register a new tenant in this user provider. So that tenant should be based on this user provider module, which is called eSpace in OutSystems. So modules are called as eSpace in OutSystems, right? Keep in mind, it will be helpful in the middle or in the end of this session. So I will create an entity for products, and these products will have a name. You can have your own entity and its attributes. Product name, description, product price is available. Okay, these are the four attributes that I'm adding: product name, description, price, and this available boolean, right? A simple entity, that's it. So this is a normal entity, and if you want this entity to be served as a multi-tenant, you have to go to here, index and more, entity details. And if you see here more options, you can see a drop down called is multi-tenant, right? So this is multi-tenant is blank now. What does that mean? If you are not providing a multi-tenant property to an entity, if you read this description, if it is not set, it will get this module setting. So we already gave that module setting is multi-tenant as yes, right? So in that case, you don't need to give for each and every entity that you are creating. If you are not added that module property as is multi-tenant yes to no, then you have to make changes here. Otherwise, you don't need to make changes here. It will automatically act as a multi-tenant entity, right? So you can either leave it as blank or you can select yes. Both are same in our case because I added multi-tenant property to yes to the module level. This is the module level, and you see multi-tenant is yes. So if you select yes or it is a blank, it is the same. So I will make it as yes. And here if you see show tenant identifier, right? This one also I need to explain this to you in the middle of this session or at the end. But by roughly I can say, if you opt this show tenant identifier true, which means let's say a scenario, a tenant is already logged in and that tenant will create a product here, right? And so those products are belongs to that tenant. In that case, in this products entity, if we enable show tenant identifier, so what if you make it as multi-tenant? Yes, right, this is a multi-tenant entity, but all those entities will tenant id will not be visible. So if you want the tenant id should be visible, you can make it as show multi-tenant, show tenant identifier. In this case, this tenant id will be shown and this entity color will be changed as red color. So if it is a red color, show tenant identifier is enabled, right? So if you make it enabled, it will not be automatic process. So when you log in as a tenant and adding a new product, OutSystems will automatically log this tenant id, right? If you enable this, that tenant id will not be automatically added. You have to pass this tenant id and create a new product. So that's the difference between this show tenant identifier. So for now I'm disabling this and close it. Okay, now our entity is created. We need to create our screens, right? So I'm going to, in the main flow, let me create onboarding screen. So where the users will onboard their company, right? So onboarding. So this screen itself, anonymous screen. So this is the first screen whenever user access the application, right? So I'll make it as anonymous and this is my home screen. For onboarding, what we need actually, so we are using users module, right? I mean, our user provider is the user, this entity. So for this entity, in order to log into OutSystems, we should have a record in user entity. So this is the default user provider module. So we should have a record here. Then only you will be authenticated and logged in to the application, right? So firstly, I should have my company name, which is the tenant name, right? So I will create, I will show you tips here. Company name. We need, I will drag a container here and a form. So the form is created. Now inside the form, when you drag this text variable here, it will create a label with input. So this is one of the tip I'm giving to you. So company name is automatically added. You don't need to add each time and all right. And the button also is automatically added. So I will create a user entity. So I will have all these things. Now I need a admin user details, right? So it's better to add a label here as company details and going to make it as central line. Now the same thing will repeat. And here it will be admin user details. So what I'm gonna do is to delete these two stuffs from here. Now name, username, password, email, mobile phone. That's it. Okay, the name has been assigned and username, password. name, username. Password is not adding. Delete this container for now. Email is added. Phone number is also added. But when I drag the password right, it's not being created. So I think this is the bug, maybe, or maybe due to some reasons they have restricted this password. So I will add it as manual, as like this. Now make it as password, and it will be user.password. And add a client action as onboard onboard client. So I'm creating a client action called onboard client. So this will be called when I click save, right? So I'm going to onboarding screen again, and we have this company details. Company name will be entered, and it should be entered for tenant creation, and we have admin user credentials. So why we are creating this admin user credentials, right? After you created a tenant, you should have a valid user which is or who is registered for that tenant. Then only you can log in with that tenant credentials, right? So for that purpose we are creating admin user while onboarding itself. Or if you need to separate this step, that is also is possible. First you can create only tenant, and then whenever you want to create a user for that tenant, you can create in service center also. I mean user management also, and you can create it like this programmatically also. And I'm going to tell you one more tip here. And when I drag this client action, it will automatically create a button widget on the UI with that client action linked to it, right? Onboard client, have it as cancel, and this cancel is linked to click cancel. It will be redirected to same screen, right? So those details will be cleared as of now, making much simpler. That's it. So our onboarding screen is ready. Now let me publish it. Okay, now the screen is published and we have our screen ready. I will open it in browser. Yeah, that's it. We have our onboarding screen ready. Is here we need to enter the company details, which means company name, right? And we will have the admin user details. This has to be entered here. Yeah, the screen is ready. Now we need to register this company details as a new tenant, right? For that, what we need to do, that's what we're going to cover here. Onboard client, here we don't have, we have nothing. I will create a folder, multi tenancy. Inside this, I'm going to create a server action which is configure tenant details. So this server action, basically what it will do, is, I will add it as a description. It will create new tenant. Secondly, switch to the newly created tenant. Third, the first step is we need to create that new tenant. That is the primary thing. And once the tenant is created, we should use tenant switch server action. So we have server actions for all these things, default server actions from system. We can take them for this. Once this tenant is switched, right, then what we need to do, we need to register this new user for the created tenant, right? Once this new user is registered, the final thing is do login. That's it. So this is the primary things this server action is going to do: configure tenant details. So this will create a new tenant and switch to that tenant and register this user to that tenant, and we will log in by using that registered user, right? So this is what we are going to do. Now in order to create tenant, right, we should take some dependencies from system. So when you go to manage dependencies, and you will have tenant specific details. So I will take some, I will search for tenant. Here we should have a tenant to create, tenant switch is required, and here we can take the tenant entity. Why I'm taking this as a reference, we can, this is non-isolated data, which means it's a non-multi-tenant entity. It will have all the tenant details which is registered in OutSystems. So now I will take this as tenant one, and e space is also I will take this e space, and e space tenant also I can have. So I'm just taking these references for our own reference. So we are not doing development with these entities, but of course we will use this e space on this server action. So I will refresh it, and oh, the e space is gone. I'll take again the dependency. So when I do refresh all, the e space selection has gone. That needs to be checked. Selected e space, and this one also gone. Now apply. Okay, so we have these entities: e space tenant, tenant, and user, right? And we have one more special entity, which is user underscore empty. So I will explain you what is that. User empty is the same replica as the user table, but that will have the tenant ID enabled. So if we go here, this user empty will have tenant ID enabled, but this ID and user ID all are same here. So this we will have same data here also, user empty. View for users across all tenants. So it will have all tenant users inside this, right? So this is the purpose of user empty, and we are not going to use in our case here. So onboard client, let's come to this server action, configure tenant details. Now what are we going to do is we need to add one aggregate here, e space, right? So this Zoho is our module. I mean, this is our owner e-space. With this e-space, we have to fetch what is the user provider for this e-space. So here we know what is the user provider. It is users, right? So we need to fetch this user provider in order to send this to the tenant create. So I'm going to paste this here, tenant create, tenant switch. Okay, so forget about this now. See, this tenant create requires two input parameters, which is tenant name and e-space name. So this tenant name is the one that we need to send it as a company name. From here we need to send. For that we should have that input parameter as company name, right? So this company name should be passed from UI, and this tenant name I'm assigning here, company name. Now this e-space name. So in order to get this e-space name, what is this e-space name? When you hover it, it doesn't have any proper description. But I will tell you what we need to pass this as e-space name. Here, the current module is Zuhu, right? So this is what we have the code multi-tenancy enabled module here, right? So this multi-tenancy module, we need to fetch what is the user provider for this module. That user provider name should be passed here. So in our case, users is the user provider name, we know that, but instead of hard coding it, just get that from the DB. Why I'm saying, in future you may change the user provider, right? In that cases, that should be dynamic. It should not be like this. You can also make it like this, users, right? But my advice here is, don't do like this. I will tell you how to take it dynamically for the user provider of this current e-space, right? So inside this get e-spaces. So e-spaces here, basically we have all these attributes. I will give you quick overview on this entity. So e-space will have multiple attributes. Among these attributes, is user provider is no for this module, right? Zugo is no. And what are we trying here is SS key is like a unique identifier for each e-spaces, right? And also we have user provider key, right? In our module Zuhu, user provider key will be users e-space key. If you want to understand this clearly, I will publish it and show you, right? So I will disable these elements and publish it. Okay, the publish has completed. Now I will double click this e-space entity and we can see what is there. See, this Zoho is our current e-space. E-space means module. So these are the modules that we have. So for this Zoho, we have 156 SS key. SS key for Zoho is this one, right? And user provider key is this one, 6510. So this user provider name is users. See, we have this users user provider. It's already there. Now we need to fetch it dynamically. How to do that? I'm going to enable it. If you have doubts in this particular section, you can ask me anytime, right? So I'm going to add the e-space again and deleting this. So this will be user provider e-space. So e-space and user provider e-space, I'm going to add join e-space only with user provider e-space. So I already told you that this SS key is unique for each modules, right? Each e-spaces it's unique, and this SS key of users e-space SS key is used as user provided key in our module. So what I'm going to do, e-space dot SS key is equal, in our case, e-space, and this will give you a inner join. And in our filter, we are going to have e-space dot id is equal to get owner. And if you have here get owner e-space identifier, what does that mean? This will give you your current modules identifier. Current module in the sense your multi-tenant module where the code is running currently, right? That's the thing. So currently this server action is created here, right? So when this server action is being called, so where this server action is present, it is on Zoho, right? So this Zoho's ID will be returned by that get owner eSpace ID. So this will return that ID. Zoho's ID it will return. And if you want to test that, we can do it quickly. I will just double click on that eSpace and you will get Zoho's ID. 156 is the Zoho, right? So now here we can test it with 156. That is fetching. For 156, we don't have records, which means we made a mistake on this joins. eSpace SS key is equal to this eSpace user provider key. So we need to swap this. Yeah. So we have this record, Zoho, and Zoho's SS key is this one, right? And when you see user providers SS key is 6510, and Zoho's user provider key is 6510. So you need to add this join condition based on this user provider key of this first entity. So first entity's user provider key is equal to if it is present in on any module's SS key. So that's why it is not returned. When we swapped previously, it's not returned any values. Now it returns our application, our modules details. That's it. So we have these details. So basically I need one record and it will return one record only. Now what I need to do, I need to pass this space. uh, no, I think it's user provider space name, right? We need to pass that users here. So this space name we gave and tenant name also we given. Now tenant create is done, tenant is created. Now what we need to do is tenant switch. Once this tenant is created, this default server action will return the tenant ID. With that tenant ID you can switch it. Tenant switch. What is tenant switch? By default OutSystems will have users tenant, right? So you need to switch to this particular tenant. So this will be called on the onboarding action. So when you do onboard, it will be automatically switched to that particular tenant, right? Because we are going to log in with the newly created user. That's how. Now what we need to do is to create a user for this tenant. So in order to do that, we should have user details, right? I will add this input parameter as user, and then I will call this create or update user. So this will create a new user, right? Basically once this user is created, I will call do login. Okay, okay. So I need to, we have password also, right? That passwords should be encrypted before you save that user. So what I'm gonna do, user input password is equal to encrypt. We need to take dependencies, I think, from users. Encrypt password is there, right? So you need to take it. Encrypt password is set to function. Yes, I think we can check it. Yes, it's a function, right? You can directly use it here. In encrypt password, I need to pass this user Please check what's the input parameter. It's username and password, right? And you need to pass the username and the password. That's it. Now create that user, do login. Okay, we need to assign this username and the password will be user.password. And I'm making it as true as of now. That's it. So we are done with all these tenant related things, tenant creation, and we got the eSpace name, right? Uh, I mean the user provider module's name, and we passed it to tenant create, and tenant switch is happening here, and we encrypted the user password, created this user, and do login, right? That's it. And we are going to use this server action directly here. Inside this, I will pass this company name and user will be this user. That's it. Now, once this do login is done, I should redirect to another screen, which is called products screen, right? So we don't have screens for that. I'm going to tell you the scaffolding for this. So for this, you have to double click this flows, layout, common, main flow. Like that, you can create your own flow also, add UI flow. And I'm double click this main flow. Inside this flow, you can drag your products entity that we are created, right? I'm dragging it. So OutSystems itself by default, it will create your list screen as well as the detail screen, right? See, now our product screen and product detail screen is ready, and if you see here we have products and product detail. So once the onboarding is done, we need to redirect the user to product screen. So this redirection is done. Okay, our onboarding is done and the redirection is also done. So once this redirection is done, that user is assigned to that particular tenant, right? So we can add the products for the tenant and etc. And we have product details also created. Okay, so no need to change anything in login. In login flow, it will work as it is. You can have doubt how do I log in a multi-tenant user, right? No need to change anything because in OutSystems by default itself, it is being built based on tenant specific login also. So here, what will happen when you do login, right? OutSystems will check this credentials belongs to which tenant, right? And if it is belongs to users tenant, and it will do as it is the normal login, and if it is belongs to a different tenant, and it will do a multi-tenant login. So by default it will have all the logic inside this do login. You can go and check it out. Now I'm publishing. Let's see our application for the multi-tenant. I hope we almost covered everything. No, we have in our requirements we have covered this UI part, and we have something else to cover, which is timers, tenant specific timers and tenant specific site properties. Okay, now it is published. We can open it in browser. Now I will register my company, CBR Cargo. So I'll register my company as Cargo, and the name will be, my admin user will be Cargo admin. Arvind.cargo. So this will be my arvind.cargo.admin, or we can have it as cargo.admin@gmail.com. Okay. something else. You can make your own credentials. Just same as email, mobile phone. Okay, details are filled. Clicking on onboard client, and we can show some loaders over here. Uh, okay, why it redirected to login? We need to check it, right. Once it is onboarded, we are redirecting it to products. Products is registered number. Okay, I think there is some problem with the user creation. We can check whether the tenant is created. Cargo, yeah, the tenant is being created, but there was some issues with the user creation. I'll check with the error logs. Login failed for cargo, invalid password. I have found that once this tenant is being created, unable to log in because we have a minor bug. That is, we directly assign this input user that password as encrypted one. Thus we are using that encrypted password to do login, so it is not the actual scenario, right? So whenever we need to log in, we have to pass this password as the user entered the direct password instead of encrypted one. So that is the issue, and rectified with creating a local variable and assigning it them. Right now we will check by creating a new tenant. Netlink. I'll create this company as Netlink and admin user as Netlink link admin gmail.com. Email will be same. Mobile is also, and then I have clicked onboard client. Okay. Now netlink.admin@gmail.com has been created, right? So this user is belongs to Netlink company. Let's say we can check in a user empty table. Yeah, if you see this, Netlink admin is being created for tenant ID 164. So tenant ID 164 is the tenant that we have created, which is Netlink. I'll quickly show you. 164 is Netlink tenant ID, right? Yeah. So we successfully created this tenant and we redirected to this page. Now I'm going to add a product called HR management description. Price is 5,000 is available true. I'm saving it. Netlink product one, price is 3,000. I'm making it as, so I'm just creating a couple of products to have it in a list. Now I will open one more incognito, right? So inside this, let me quickly open the onboarding screen. Okay, we logged in as a Netlink admin, right? Now I will log in as another tenant in incognito. In order to log in as another tenant, I should create, I should onboard as that company, right? Let's say the company as webwings, webwings admin. Okay, I'm creating this webwings. Yeah, now you see the same code, same application, which is loaded into two different browsers, right? As a two different tenants. If you see here, I have logged in as a Netlink admin, but if you see here, it's a WebWings admin. So we have same code with the two tenants. I can add a product for this WebWings. Let me show you quickly how this is differs. WebWings product. Yeah. So if you see the reference here, we have only one product in this organization, which means in this company we have only one product. And if you see this, I think I mean we have two different products. Yeah. So this is how multi-tenant will work. So you can have much more tenants as well. So I just showed you a demo here, and we can also see the list of tenants we created. And for example, in our example, we created Netlink and WebWings as the two tenants. And we see here, Netlink is one of the tenant, and WebWings as the other tenant, right? So we have two tenants which is created now. So I'm going to show you how to execute tenant specific site properties as well as tenant specific timers, right? So now let's go into site properties first, and I'm going to create a site property called show add button. So I've created this site property as show add button. So here is also a same rule will be applicable. If you don't provide your module as multi-tenant yes, you have to click this as yes. Otherwise, you can leave it as blank. I'm making it as yes. So show add button is created, and one more thing I will quickly show you the timers also how to run that based on tenant specific, right? I'm just adding a timer which is create product timer. So this timer I'm going to make it as tenant specific yes, other properties as same. Now this action will be new server action. Create product timer will create a new product basically, and we have already products creator update here, and the source we need to pass it as null identifier. Product name is product on timer. Description price. So now I've created a tenant specific timer and tenant specific site property, right? So these timers and site properties will be available to each tenant freshly, right? If you are executing a timer or site property to one tenant, will not be affected to another tenant. So let me quickly show you the demo. Oh, okay, sorry, I have forgot to done one more thing. So in order to show the site property thing, right, we can show it something like in the UI. So I'm going to make this button disabled with that site property. So in order to do that, I have data action, it's site upload, get site property, and this will return the site property show button. Now here this show button will be assigned with the site property site dot show add button. Now let me create this as a local variable here, show button local, renaming it, and now based on this enable property will be toggled, show button local. So if it is true, this button will be enabled. False, it will be disabled. Now I should have an after fetch here. We'll create this, and this local variable will be assigned with the output parameter of the data action. Yeah, now we are done. Let me publish it. So now the publish is done. We will go and check it. Let me refresh this page. I mean, Netlinks. I'll refresh Netlink tenant. It is disabled as true. And let me refresh here. Here also it is true, right? When we add it from Survey Studio for the first time and we make a value and publish it, it will be applied to all the tenants. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll go to this Netlink tenant and let me search for the site property that we have added. So in order to make changes of site properties and timers for a particular tenant, what you have to do, you should go to your module first, right? Go to your module and you have tenants here. I mean, if it is not multi-tenant, you will, by general, you will access those site properties and timers over here, right? Since it's multi-tenant timers and site properties, you have to go into module details, and inside module details you will have each tenants listed. So this list will be displayed in all the modules. You don't need to go to specific module, or you can check it in users module also. There also in tenants tab we will have list of tenants here. And I'll go to this Netlink tenant and show add button. Effective value by default is false, right? For this tenant I'm making it as true and click on apply. Now for Netlink tenant I make it, I've updated it as true. Now this is the Netlink tenant. I will refresh it and let's see. See, for this tenant it is enabled, so we will check for the other tenant. It will remains disabled. Yeah, so in this case it is working as tenant specific, the site property. So if you want to enable for this tenant also, you have to go to service center, and here you have this Netlink, right? And back to users. Now you see, you can go to the other tenant webbings. You can see this show add button. So all the site properties and timers is available for all the tenants. You can run for it. Now we have seen, you can see the value for this is false, and there we made it as true. That's why it is the difference between the timers. So now we are going to run tenant specific timer for this tenant webbings, right? So we have created create product timer in Zuhu. Zuhu means, here in this module we created create product timer, right? Now this timer will create a new product. Currently we have only one product. What I'm going to do, for webbings tenant I'm going to run this timer. So I'm explicitly going to run it. Let me run. We can see the timer progress here, and I have uploaded a video regarding the timers also. You can have a look on our YouTube channel and see the last timer has been run. And now if I check here in webbings tenant, a new record should be added. Yeah, we got it, right? Product from timer is being added with this tenant, webbings tenant. And when you refresh it for this tenant, that product will not be added because we ran the timer tenant specific. See, we don't have that product from timer is not here, and here we have added. So that's it regarding this multi-tenancy applications. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I think it's a long video, but it's a worthy video in your learning journey. And for me too, it's a very pleasure to uh, explain these things to you guys. I hope this will give you a clear picture on multi-tenancy. And I will add add-ons to this multi-tenancy, like some other features also, right? I will create some upcoming videos. I hope this session is very useful to you, and I'm expecting all your feedbacks as well. And you can add your comments or valuable feedbacks. And if you feel this solution or this session is helpful, you can share it to your friends and families. And please do subscribe the channel, so that that will be some encouragement for me to do some other videos as well. Yeah, thank you so much.